At this time, I'm going to ask our dignitaries to take their seats up here on the dais. That's you guys back there. That would be Christian Johansson, First Lady Don Moore, Governor Westmore, Mayor Brandon Scott, Greg Cross, David Rubenstein, and myself. So in my life, I have two bosses, and one is sitting up here on the dais, and he's about the only person that can make me late to something, and the other one's my wife, who is at home, actually at school, teaching reading. So good afternoon. My name is Terry Hasseltine. I am the president and chairman of the Sport and Entertainment Corporation of Maryland, and we welcome you to Camden Yards Sports Complex and the historical warehouse at Camden Yards, overlooking the beautiful ballpark of Oriole Park. On behalf of the First Lady, Dawn Moore, and the Sport and Entertainment Corporation Board of Directors, I thank you for coming out and joining us today. The Sport and Entertainment Corporation was launched in 2019 by the Maryland Sports Commission as a dynamic, non-for-profit arm that creates a seamless process of running events more effectively, incubating larger multi-fiscal year events that bring significant money to the state of Maryland. The Sport Corp facilitates public-private partnerships to boost Maryland's ever-growing sports tourism industry. Under our portfolio is the Maryland 5-Star at Bear Hill, the Maryland Cycling Classic returning in 2025, the 2028 and 32 AAU Junior Olympic Games, and the reason we're all here today. At this time, I'd like to take a few moments to recognize some key leaders that got us to this point today. First, the Sport Corp Board of Directors, thank you for your leadership and your guidance through this process. The Sport Corp staff and the Maryland Stadium Authority and the Maryland Sports Commission staff for helping us put all this together today. A special thank you to the First Lady for giving us this charge to move this opportunity forward. Craig Thompson, the chairman of the Maryland Stadium Authority, for giving my team the latitude to move this process from point A to point Z. I'd like to thank Athena Hernandez for her leadership and guidance in making sure that we're getting everything the way we need it. I'd like to thank Mark Brody with MTROA for his charge and his leadership in making sure that we got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted in order to be able to present certain things to you today. I'd also like to thank Faith Lee for her leadership in the city in making sure that our communication chain between the city and the state is seamless. I'd also like to thank our newest employee, Christopher Brooks, for his immediate leadership and guidance on navigating the channels of what we're about to embark on here. Steve Kearney for his voice in helping us understand public affairs and the PR strategies that we're going to have to embark on as we take on this challenge. And also Christian Johansson, who is one of our co-chairs. In addition, I want to send my gratitude and appreciation to the leadership of the governor's office and the mayor's office for allowing us and guiding us through these awesome times of what we're about to perform here for the state of Maryland, the city of Baltimore, and one of our favorite tradition sports here in the state of Maryland. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Everett Browning with the Maryland Lottery for all that he has done to get us to this point as well. And I know there are numerous others in this room who are playing key roles and the like, but if I sat here and listed every single person, we'd be here for 4 hours, and we're not going to do that. So we are changing the dynamic of how Baltimore and Maryland celebrate and support the Preakness going forward. Today, we are providing a preview of our efforts, a snapshot of our activities, and an opportunity for sustainable engagement by all. You are all invited to play a pivotal role in this exciting initiative that promises to transform our equestrian landscape while engaging a special effort to ensure MBE and WBE partners are prominent. And yes, I am talking about the Preakness 150 celebration commemorating the 150th running of the Preakness Stakes in May 2025. In doing so, we'll take a play out of the playbook of major sporting events around the globe, including the Kentucky Derby. and we will establish a true Preakness Festival that consists of signature and co-branded events that create a runway of activities that engage your employees, neighborhoods, friends, and family, leading all the way to race day itself. When we do this thing right, it will provide meaningful activities for communities to all yield economic benefit for the state and for the city and their communities. These benefits will echo across the city, our state, and for years to come. So as you can see on the screen is the logo, and am I missing the other part? It's coming, sorry. Okay, and at this time, as you can see, the logo incorporating the 3 stars of the Triple Crown, obviously our partners within the Preakness, and as well as flexibility to change out dates and responsibilities associated with the mark, and obviously accentuating the fact that it's horse racing, at the helm of it. But at this time, I'd like to bring up friend and partner who is setting the vision for this activity along with the First Lady, Christian Johansson, Chairman of Stella May Contracting and one of our co-chairs.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to start by acknowledging and thanking Maryland's First Lady for her vision to bring this effort to life. If not for your vision, your tireless dedication, your grit, your tenacity, and frankly, complete inability to take no for an answer, we would not be in this room today. I also want to acknowledge the state of Maryland and the city of Baltimore for their strong leadership and support. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank both of you, as well as Hannah Scott, for agreeing to serve as honorary co-chairs of this event. Please give them a round of applause. I also want to recognize my fellow co-chairs. In addition to the First Lady, we have David Rubenstein, as well as Belinda Stronach and Mike Hankin. These kinds of things don't just happen. They happen because people get in a room and they agree to get behind it. And I want to thank them so much for all the work that they're doing. I also want to acknowledge our dedicated committee chairs who are working tirelessly across event planning, marketing, communications, fundraising. Yes, you might be getting some calls to bring Preakness 150 to life. And a special thank you to the steering and host committees, a truly extraordinary group of professionals. They represent Team Baltimore, Team Maryland. It's a mix of public, private, and government, all coming together for this effort. I also want to make sure we're extending our deep appreciation to the lottery and the Baltimore Ravens for the support of this effort. Together, we're united with an audacious goal. We want to transform, quite literally, how this city, how this state celebrates and support Preakness, not just for 150, frankly, for generations to come. And as Terry said, yes, we are talking about Preakness 150, the running of the Preakness Stakes in May of 2025. Can you tell that I'm excited about this? I think you should all be excited about this. This is big news for our state, big news for our city. And the reason is that Preakness is more than just a globally renowned sporting event. Frankly, the Preakness is a part of our history. It's a part of our traditions. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of what makes us Marylanders, right? It's truly a jewel to have this in our backyard. And yet, Maryland historically has not fully captured the economic impact that Preakness could yield. So if you take a look just a few states south and west, you come to Kentucky. And the Derby in 2023 had $396 million in economic impact through their festival activities, as well as the Derby. The last time we did an economic impact study, the state of Maryland had $41 million of economic impact. And there's reasons for this. But the main reason is that the Derby isn't 1 or 2 days. The Derby is months of celebration leading up to race day. Nobody flies into the Derby for a day. They're coming in for the week, or at least 4 days or 3 days. But that's what we're trying to do here. And when you look at Preakness Festival, you know, we can take the playbook from a Derby. We know what they're doing. We know what's worked. We think, you know, between the Derby in Maryland and Baltimore, I would rather come here any day of the week. Any day of the week. And if we do this right, this is going to bring together employees, friends, neighbor, families. This is about a sense of community, a sense of pride. Now, we're at a crossroads. The state's historic investment to redevelop Pimlico into an iconic racetrack represents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to elevate the Preakness Stakes and showcase Baltimore, Maryland on a global stage. However, we don't just have to rebuild physical infrastructure. We have to re-energize civic pride and engagement in the Preakness. That's why we're here today. A robust Preakness 150 celebration will serve as a powerful catalyst to market Pimlico as a premier destination for horse racing and related events. It positions Preakness and our state for long-term success when Pimlico returns to Baltimore in 2027. This isn't just about celebrating our past. It's about blazing a bright future for Maryland's equine industry, for the city, and for the state. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to introduce the visionary and the architect behind the Preakness 150 effort, Maryland's First Lady. Thank you.
I have to take Christian more places with me with that kind of introduction. But good afternoon. I am so happy to be here. Thank you to Terry and thank you to Christian. I am just truly honored to serve as the co-chair for the Preakness 150. And it is great to be here with so many partners in this work. Most people know me as Maryland's First Lady, but I have been a champion for Marylanders and the state of Maryland for more than 2 decades of my commitment to public service. And so that's why this moment is very personal for me, because together we are going to ensure that Maryland wins. You see, 2 years ago, Wes and I went to the Kentucky Derby. We were the guests of Governor Andy Beshear and First Lady Brittany Beshear. And it was my first time at the Derby. And I was absolutely amazed by the level of engagement in the event. I mean, you could really feel the Kentucky pride. And I walked away very, very inspired. Like, the state of Maryland could do something of our own. And honestly, we could do it better. My husband's not the only competitive one in the family. And listen, I will tell you this. The truth of the matter is, if you want to see my husband's eyes glaze over, you give him a small idea. But if you want to see his eyes light up like I like to see them light up, you give him a big idea. And I said to him, we can do this in Maryland. And he said, well, go do it then. So we have a lot to celebrate, and the Preakness is recognized across the country and around the world as the premier celebration of horse racing and culture and heritage. And so here we are at the 150th anniversary of the running of the Preakness. And now we have a unique opportunity to build on that potential and elevate the Preakness as part of this 150th anniversary celebration. We have envisioned a festival that includes family-friendly events educational opportunities, a headline concert, the Black-Eyed Susan, of course, and the iconic Preakness Stakes. It is going to be an opportunity for us to honor the tradition of Preakness and build on the tradition in new ways. And I'm excited, I am really excited to hit the ground running because we have the right partners for the job. Joining us as co-chairs, we have 4 titans of the Maryland business community. David Rubenstein, Belinda Stronach, Michael Hankin, and Christian Johansson. And each of them represent a key part of our state's private strength, and we are deeply grateful for their partnership. If you could please give them a round of applause for stepping up. And then, of course, joining as honorary co-chairs, we also have 3 leaders I deeply admire and respect, and that is the love of my life, Wes Moore, our esteemed mayor, Mayor of Baltimore, Mayor Brandon Scott, and the mayor's wife, Hannah Scott, who in her own right is a very successful nonprofit leader, and I thank you for your partnership as well. And as a point of personal privilege, the 4 of us had the chance to spend some time together as our mayor was inaugurated for the 2nd time. Thank you so much for your commitment to our great city. I'd also like to give a big shout out to the members of our very distinguished working group. Really, as we all know, no one does anything alone. And I certainly did not get to this point doing anything alone for anything in my life, and certainly not this moment for the Preakness Festival 150 celebration. So I want to give a big thank you to Craig Thompson, Terry Hasseltine, Mark Brody, Steve Carney, Athena Hernandez, and Christopher Brooks. I thank you so much for your tireless work to getting us to this point. And certainly, last but not least, we have an amazing group of committee members who are sharing their time and their talents so generously. Our committee is made up of Marylanders from all backgrounds and all sectors. We have influencers on our team, we have grassroots leaders on our team, we have promoters on our team, we have business leaders, and we have trusted village elders on our team. And we knew we had to bring everyone together to the table to get this moment right. And so look, today is not just an initiation. It is absolutely an invitation for anyone who has not yet raised their hand or who says, this is the first time I am hearing this. This is your First Lady asking you very humbly to please join us. Please partner with us, because it will take each of us working together in partnership to make this the biggest and the best year yet. We want everyone to participate in this moment and to help us build a festival that meets the moment. And I'd like to issue a special invitation to our small and women-owned and veteran-owned and minority-owned businesses. This is a wonderful opportunity as we think about that economic impact that should really be touching this great city in all parts of the state. And we want the Preakness 150 to show off the very best of our state. If you have an idea for an event that you think should be a part of the historic festival, please reach out to www.preaknessfestival.com. The website is live, right, Terry? And together we can create a truly unforgettable celebration and elevate our communities right here in Maryland. That is what this moment is about, and that is what this vision is helping us to pursue. And the reason why Wes and I are so invested in Preakness is that this work isn't just meaningful in its own right. It's going to be one of the assets that makes this Maryland's decades, as Wes always says. And for too long, Baltimore has been overlooked and undercut. But we have leaders who are saying no more. So at this moment, we are working together to write a new chapter in the story of the city that we all love. And with that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce the man who is leading our efforts in this great state of Maryland. He is absolutely the love of my life and my life partner, the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland, Wes Moore.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad she was talking about me. It is a joy to be here with each and every one of you. And I always say I hate following Dawn, but I will follow her anywhere. We are so grateful for you, for your leadership, for the hard work, for the diligence. Christian, you're absolutely right. She doesn't take no for an answer. I've learned that over the past 17 years of marriage. But we would not be here had it not been for you, babe. And we are so grateful and thankful for who you are and for what you mean to each and every one of us. And so, everybody, once again, if we could please give a round of applause to our state's amazing First Lady. And it's not just this work. It's the continued work that you've continued to demonstrate. And if there's one thing I've learned about leadership in all of this, is that it's also important for leaders to surround themselves with great leaders. That if you want to get something done, surround yourself with the best. And our First Lady has really helped to pull together an absolutely incredible team. And not just an incredible team of people who are here in the chairs and here on the stage, but also this incredible team who's out in front of us as well. Because if you look around this room, we see the ultimate coalition. It's the ultimate coalition of the private sector, the ultimate coalition of state and local leadership. It's the ultimate coalition of nonprofit partners. It's a coalition of community activists. It's a coalition of philanthropists. It's la-di-da-di everybody. Because in partnership, we are proving not just what success looks like, but what is required. It requires all of us to check egos at the door and to make sure that we are doing the work on behalf of the people and doing something special that generations from now will pay attention to the fact that in this moment we understood the assignment. That this was going to be a chance that we could do something big. And fulfilling the broader goal of the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland, that is the goal. Partnership is how we are going to get there. And when it comes to Preakness 150, the impact of our partnership is clear. Maryland's horse industry alone generates around $3 billion every year and supports over 25,000 jobs. A quarter of Maryland's agricultural sector, which is the largest sector in Maryland's economy, comes from the equine industry. And Preakness brings countless visitors to and from Baltimore every single year. Preakness is a chance for Baltimore to show off. And that's exactly what's going to happen on Preakness 150. Because our vision for Preakness 150 is a festival that builds upon that potential. It's a festival that really emphasizes the next phase of our work to carry forward the legacy of horse racing at Pimlico for generations to come. Now in May, the Board of Public Works, which I proudly chair, approved an agreement to transfer ownership of Pimlico Racecourse to the state of Maryland. Yeah, we can applaud on that one. This historic agreement guarantees that Baltimore will continue to be the home of the Preakness Stakes, the second leg of the Triple Crown, and establishes Pimlico as the year-round home of thoroughbred racing in the state of Maryland. And, by the way, this agreement includes two provisions that I want to emphasize specifically today. First, it ensures the full renovation of Pimlico facilities, including the racetrack and hotel and event space construction, turning into a true destination spot. And the second, which we are deeply proud of, it also delivers a $10 million investment through the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development to promote housing and job training and workforce development and other local priorities to and through Park Heights. So this agreement is bigger than horse racing, y'all. We're going to make sure that we are going to create winners on and off the track. The same way, David, that the Baltimore Orioles have created winners on and off the field. We're noticing a theme here, Maryland, right? This is going to be a crucial part of that mission, and I want to take this moment also to thank Greg Cross and the entire team for the outstanding work that you did to help negotiate this deal. Our team from the MSA, we would not have gotten it without you, so God bless you and thank you for everything you continue to do for us. So we have an opportunity to build a festival that's built on strong economic foundations that we have built and that is driving growth, and that is the future we are building. A future where Baltimore is growing and thriving and leading, and the work isn't just important, that the work is necessary. That we are going to build a state, that we are going to focus on making pathways to work, wages, and wealth for every single Marylander, that we are going to create a state where we continue driving down crime and creating jobs and creating greater access for everybody who calls Maryland home. And also, to be clear, for this to be Maryland's decade, it has got to be Baltimore's time. And for those who might not have found out yet, the Baltimore Renaissance is now, the Baltimore Renaissance is here, and the Baltimore Renaissance is here to stay. And we are so grateful. And we are so grateful that we know we have the leader that we need who's going to help us get there. I am proud to turn the microphone over to my friend and Baltimore's newly re-elected mayor, Mayor Brandon Scott.
Good afternoon. So we're here talking about an event in Baltimore, in Park Heights, at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. I know we're 108 days away from opening day, but the energy, Mr. Governor, Madam First Lady, is a little dry for me, so we're going to try it again. Good afternoon. All right. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you to all of our partners here today. Thank you, Madam First Lady. Thank you to my First Lady, who's walking charm around, so he's quiet during the press conference. Thank you to Terry, to Christian, to David for what he's doing, not just here at Oriole Park, but in Baltimore. But also, I see some other folks in the audience that we need to uplift. I want to say thank you to Delegate Ampry, Delegate Ruff, my Park Heights brethren, both of us born 8 blocks away, 8 days away from each other, who is here. Delegate Sandy Rosenberg, who has been fighting for Park Heights all of my lifetime. I see Secretary Lee and Secretary Edwards as well. Thank you all for being here. To our local representatives, to my good friend and Park Heights sister, Yolanda Jiggets, who leads Park Heights Renaissance. Mr. Governor, if you haven't been to the party of the week before Preakness in Park Heights, you haven't been to a party yet. But I know we'll all be there this year. Yolanda, we may have to move the Park Heights reunion to this weekend. We had to talk to the folks about that. But thank you for your great work and the great work that you're doing in tandem with people like Dana Henson. Mr. Governor, Dana and I were talking about not 1, not 2, but like 3 ribbon cuttings I have coming in Park Heights. We mentioned Craig Thompson, Shalonda Stokes. Shalonda, thank you. We know this isn't downtown, but uptown is important too. Thank you very much. My city administrator, Faith Leach, and Tanya Miller Hall and Lindsey Jackson from my office, they are a double duo. If you see them coming, run. That means they are coming to tell you that something's important and it has to happen. We all know that the 150th annual Preakness Stakes is right around the corner. It's an event that puts Baltimore and Park Heights in particular on the global stage. And it's so important that we use this opportunity, as the First Lady said, to showcase the best that Baltimore has to offer. We want to show the world the real and true Baltimore, one that is resilient, fun, and on the rise, one that is the home of excellence, but in particular, this brand of Old Bay sprinkled black excellence, and a city that is embarking on the greatest urban renaissance our country has ever seen, Mr. Governor. That is what the Preakness Festival is all about. Our community coming together to celebrate the best of Baltimore and our rich and deep sporting history. And as a son of Park Heights, I have to say, that's not what Preakness has always been. It hasn't always been a place where we felt welcome. It was held in Northwest Baltimore, but it was very clear that it wasn't for Northwest Baltimore. But over the past few years, thanks to the great work of so many in this room and beyond, bringing the surrounding communities into the fold, we've begun to change that narrative. You can start with me. It wasn't until 2019 that I went to my first Preakness, living in that neighborhood most of my life. And Mr. Governor, Madam First Lady, you should see the change in the people in the neighborhood, where we were at Preakness a year ago and 2 years ago with people that I know my whole life came up to me and said, thank y'all for allowing us to finally come. We feel like we can be here in Preakness. We are creating spaces where everyone feels welcome, tapping into and uplifting Baltimore's vibrant neighborhood and building bridges across that historical divide between the Preakness and the rest of our community. This is more than just a festival. It is a testament that makes Baltimore Charm City. Here, in the rightful home of Preakness, I can think of no better way to celebrate and no better example of Baltimore's renaissance than my neighborhood where I grew up. When you think about Park Heights and you think about 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, you thought about decades of disinvestment, vacant after vacant after vacant, and just neglect as far as the eyes can see. But now, when you drive up Park Heights and you see equity and development projects like Renaissance Row, like Woodland Gardens, like Cold Spring Lane Apartments, together with a new library that's coming, a renovated rec center, 2 new 21st century schools, and with the redevelopment of Pimlico, Park Heights is fast becoming a great American comeback story, and we're only just getting started. And if anyone forgets it, Yolanda will sure remind you that we're only getting started. The Preakness Festival will help drive economic growth, create jobs, and foster inclusive development partners in partnership with communities across Baltimore and Maryland. We're going to take the strategies that have been working in neighborhoods like Park Heights and Perkins, Somerset, Old Town, and sprinkle that Preakness energy throughout our city to make sure that more residents and more neighborhoods can reap the benefits. I want to thank all of our partners here, our residents, for continuing to bet on Baltimore, and for all of you for all your hard work to make the Preakness Festival an unprecedented success. And you know, I've never been to Kentucky, Madam First Lady. I don't really plan on going. But I can assure you that Kentucky has nothing on the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. And with that, I will turn it over to Greg Cross, the Maryland Thoroughbred Racetrack Operation Authority Executive Director. Greg?
Good afternoon, everyone. As we celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Preakness, we're also going to celebrate in 2025 the rebirth of what's one of Maryland's oldest industries. Pimlico is actually the cradle of American racing. The Preakness is the second oldest racetrack. There is evidence of races there dating to the 1700s. The Maryland Jockey Club, which runs the race, is the oldest sporting club in North America. My group was tasked 18 months ago with reevaluating how the industry was working in the facilities, and big changes are coming in 2025. In 2 weeks, the newly founded Maryland Jockey Club will take over day-to-day racing in all of Maryland. And shortly after the Preakness is held, Pimlico will be demolished and plans will be released for a new Pimlico. And in the next couple of weeks, hopefully before the first of the year, we'll be announcing the location for a new training facility, and plans will be released in the coming year as well. You know, when you get a job like mine, you become a collector of stories. And as soon as I got it, everyone has a Preakness story, and you quickly find out that the Preakness transcends just a race, it transcends an industry. Everybody in the city, everybody in the state, old, young, they have generational stories about the race. You know, we call it the people's race, and you know, I really want to give thanks to everyone involved in this effort, and particularly the First Lady who led the charge, so that we have a foundation that incorporates everyone, not necessarily just those that are there on the race day, and something that celebrates what this is to the state, because you know, there's only one of 3 of these things. For one day a year, all eyes are on Maryland, and this is a critical platform going forward to promote what we're trying to do. Thank you all.
And at this time, I'd like to ask David Rubenstein to come up and say a few words on behalf of the Carlisle Group and the Orioles.
In the investment world in which I have lived for the last 40-plus years, and the sports ownership world in which I've lived for the last year, you get a lot of proposals, a lot of ideas, people want support, and 99% of them are not perfect and not ideal. But when the First Lady mentioned this to me, I think at a dinner we had in Annapolis, I said, that's a pretty clever idea. How come nobody else thought of that before? And how come I didn't think of that? Very good idea, and I was happy to be involved because I think that getting the sports community united is a very important goal in Maryland, and I want to thank the governor for doing that, getting all the teams involved together in Maryland to operate, to do the best things for people in Maryland and for the country. I grew up near Pimlico. I grew up at 4834 Buford Avenue, 1 mile from Pimlico. But I went to Pimlico Elementary School, and I went to Pimlico Junior High School, and I never was at Pimlico Racetrack, because in those days you had to be, I think, 16 or 18, and I was not old enough to go. Now I'm afraid that I might be too old to go. But I hope they'll welcome me back, and I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to getting to see what I never could see when I was a young boy. Because I knew I was going to be here today, some people sent me a message, and one message I got was from Secretariat. Secretariat won the Preakness in 1973, more than 50 years ago, with a record that still stands today, 1 minute, 53 seconds. And Secretariat said to me in an email today, please don't tell the people in the Belmont Stakes or at the Kentucky Derby, but I always liked the Preakness the best. And I'm looking forward to the 150th, provided that nobody breaks my record. So on the condition that nobody breaks Secretariat's record, I think it's going to be very successful, and I'm looking forward to being there and watching the winner. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. To wrap this up and to bring this conference to a close, the path forward is simple. The Preakness Festival will feature months of events and activities across the city and the state leading up to the Preakness, supported by a robust public-private partnership of city, state, and private sector partners. The Preakness Stakes will be held at Pimlico Racecourse in 2025, and then it will move down the road to Laurel in 2026, and then a return back to Pimlico in 2027 under the state's leadership and ownership. And finally, the next steps, they're simple. Finalize the list of signature events that we're going to produce, and we'll hopefully announce right after the first of the year across the city and the state. Create a timeline of activities and opportunities that are significant for everybody's engagement. Continue our committee growth and recruitment strategies, and make sure that we're creating routine on our messaging. And last but not least, fundraising for the current needs, while at the same time building the sustainable foundation for the future. And with that, roll that beautiful theme footage. So, Christopher, I see him out there somewhere. Do you have something I'm supposed to? At this time, we're going to open up the platform for Q&A. When you do ask your question, please ask who you're addressing it to so that we can make sure the right person comes to the podium and answers and addresses your question. Okay.
Charles Walker with the Baltimore Sun. I guess to the governor and anyone else who wants to answer, the officials from the Strana Group have made it clear in recent years that the Preakness has lost money, whereas it used to really uphold the state's industry. Do you believe that this new series of events can reverse the economic tide of the event fairly quickly?
Yeah, I'll take it first. So yes, I think part of the idea and part of the entire plan around this was what does the rebuild not just symbolize, but also what can it generate? And I think there is importance of not just generating excitement and also participation, but also making sure that you have something that people see as the come-to destination for a come-to event. And so part of the entire focus that we have around the entire Pimlico Plus plan was not just about the fact that we want to be able to have 365 horse racing. It wasn't just about the fact that we want to make sure that we are investing in Park Heights and in the surrounding communities, but also that we are going to do something that will be financially accretive to the state as well. So that is part and will continue to be part of the goal and the aspiration of the entire Pimlico Plus plan.
Rachel from WMAR News Radio. I had a question, I guess just for anybody. This big celebration, this week-long festival, it's for the 150th, but something you mentioned wanting to make this something that Marylanders are proud of from the 150th on, bringing energy back. Is this week-long festival something that you're looking at continuing for the 151st, 52nd, and on after that?
The ultimate goal is to create a sustainable model that lasts for many, many years to come. As we come out of 150, making sure that we put the tentpole events and other co-branded activities into place, that when you hit 151 and then again coming back to Pimlico and 152, that you start to see this year in, year out. And as we continue to build and add on to various components throughout the years, because that's the thing about this festival. You know, we're starting with 150 as really re-energizing, reinvigorating what can be, that each year there's going to be probably an opportunity that will present itself that we will probably bring into the fabric of the festival as time grows. But we have to do the crawl, walk, run model before we can get to what we ultimately think this will be.
Coming up for a question?
Yes, Dave Collins, WMAR-TV. Terry, I have a question for you. How long of the celebration is it? A week long, and when will details be released in terms of where those events will be and what is in them?
There will be actually months of activities leading into the Preakness Week with a heavy concentration on Preakness Week. And we look forward to right after the first year, once we solidify a couple more detail points, to releasing a timeline and what those activities will be. So it'll give us another chance to come together and visit with you.
I have an on-topic question for the governor.
Nope.
You were recently made public that you support sales of alcohol in grocery stores, and I'd like to know why you support it and what do you hope is included in that legislation?
Yeah, well, Maryland is one of only 4 states in the country that does not allow beer to be sold inside of grocery stores, one of only a handful that doesn't allow wine. And so not only doesn't it make sense for Maryland to be out of step with the rest of the country, the reality is that if people want to come and have beer and wine, it's something that the people from around the state, and I'm talking from Western Maryland to the Eastern Shore and everywhere in between, one of the common threads and themes that I hear is that people want this to happen. And so this is about listening to the people. The other thing is, too, is that if a person in many communities is choosing to go buy beer or wine, that in many communities they have to do it through things like bulletproof glass. And so let's be clear that this is also about making sure that if people are going to want to go and purchase beer or wine, that they also should have a chance to do it in dignity as well. And so we think it's important. I'm looking forward to working with the General Assembly and getting something to my desk this session.
We're going to take one more question. I also have an on-topic question, I'm sorry.
Of course.
Just get your reaction to the charges being brought against the Maryland native Luigi Mangione.
Some of the earliest memories I have in my life was watching the healthcare system fail. I was 3 years old when my dad died in front of me because he didn't get the health care he needed. And so the brokenness of the healthcare system is something that I have lived with and something that still very much sits with me to this day. And working to fix it is something that I still make a core part of my why and my ethos. I also know that the way we solve things is not killing people in cold blood. The way we solve things is not killing people because we do not like the industry they are in or the company that they represent. And I'm glad that the wheels of justice are now moving. We need to have justice for what happened to Brian Thompson. And I would just ask people to remember that because of the actions of this person, there are 2 teenagers right now in Minnesota who are growing up like I did, fatherless. And we can never forget that.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your questions.
Thanks, sir.
Take a question. Thank you very much.
And before we do wrap, I'd like to ask Christian Johansson to come back up. I believe he has something for the First Lady.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
That's from all of us.
Again, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. And at this time, we have a various series of photos that we have to collect for the purpose of posterity.